welcome to this week's Dramatic Drama Weekend. Jeremy better look out because he's got some competition. Flowerboy Next Door begins with a stalker woman, YunJiKim, who lives across from a sexy doctor man. She lives her days happily editing books and drooling over the sexy doctor man through the lens of her yellow binoculars. Next door to YunJiKim live two flower boys. The first one is Dong-hoon, who is a player, and the other is Rock. We think that's his name, who is a bit of a stalker himself for the stalker woman YunJiKim. Both of these flower boys are writing a webtoon. The base of the webtoon is about two flower boys who live next door to a hermit woman. And the name of the webtoon is Flowerboy Next Door. And just when you thought the show couldn't get any hotter, Enrique enters the scene. Enrique has been living his life happily in Spain, becoming one of the world's most famous video game makers. And he's come to Korea to visit his older brother, who just happens to be the sexy doctor man, who YunJiKim is stalking. To make this even more complicated, the two flower boys next door have been found plagiarizing one of Enrique's video games in one of their webtoons. And then the hotness keeps on coming. And an adorable Japanese man, Watanabe Ryu, moves in down the hall from YunJiKim. Now, what exactly does a girl have to do to move into this situation? Excuse me, is this flower boy housing? I would like an application.
Yes, most women do. But we actually don't do applications.
Oh.
All of our tenants are selected from an interview.
Well, that's okay with me.
Oh, perfect. Okay, have a seat.
What are you doing?
Never mind. It's an old joke. Okay. In order to live in a flower boy rich environment, you must have certain qualifications, such as being extremely poor. Your appearance must be homely. And being overweight is a plus. And with our apartment complex, you cannot leave your apartment unless you are desperate for supplies. If you can afford supplies, because you're going to be extremely poor.
Yes, that sounds fine with me. As long as I get to live next to a bunch of flower boys, I don't need food.
Yes, about that. So, what you have to understand about this housing is that it's based off of a scientific theory that flower boys are attracted to poor, homely women. So, there's actually no flower boys here presently, but we are positive that they will come.
So you're saying I'm going to be poor, fat, and a hermit with no guarantee of flower boys?
Based off of all of the dramas, eventually one would come.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's worth it. Back to the plot. When Enrique temporarily moves in with his sexy elder brother, he begins to feel eyes on him from the apartment across the street. Why the sexy doctor man didn't notice this before is beyond me, because YunJiKim was pretty darn obvious. But sure enough, Enrique spots her spying on him through the binoculars. After he finds out that YunJiKim was just doing innocent stalking, Enrique takes an interest in her and tries to get her out of her hermit state and out to the real world, much to the stress of Rock, who has been trying to keep her inside of her hermit state so he could fawn over her from afar. And for the rest of the drama, you're just going to have to watch it on your own time, or watch the rest of my review for all the juicy spoilers that I will be reviewing. The side stories in this drama. They were really good. I don't think there was a single side story that I zoomed past. Honestly, I could only think of two characters that this entire story could have done without. There was even a side character that I felt didn't get enough attention. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to focus on all of them, just the ones that I thought were the most important. First, let's talk about the characters that were less than needed. That was the sexy doctor man and his girlfriend. Granted, they were both needed in the beginning to get the story going, so YunJiKim would have a person to stalk, and Enrique would have some love interest to keep him coming back to Korea, I guess. However, I felt like the writers didn't care about these characters whatsoever, as evidence of their disappearance later on in the drama. I personally felt like I wanted more from the storyline of the sexy doctor man. But no, his storyline was so pointless I didn't even bother to learn his name. And his girlfriend was just as pointless. I just did not feel like there was enough to even call them side stories. They were just kind of like passerbys. Quite unfortunate. And now for the best last side stories, and that is of Donghoon and PD. Donghoon could totally handle PD with all of her bipolar mood swings, and PD could help him with his flightiness. I probably was the happiest when I found out that they got together in the end than I was for Gudokmi and Enrique. I just adored everything about their kooky relationship. Now I'm just going to briefly talk about the annoying girl from the past, Cha-do-hui. Ooh, I hated her so much. I felt that it was extremely fitting that in the intro, she became a Gumio because she would totally eat all those guys' livers. I hated her. However, I was very glad that she did not change in the end of the drama. I felt that it was quite fitting that out of all of these people, she did not learn her lesson. It fit her character. Still hated her though. And last, I'm going to focus on the side story of Watanabe. He did not get enough attention. He was so freaking adorable. I loved that he didn't quite understand everything in Korean. And so him and Donghoon had this kind of cute relationship where they were confused by each other, but somehow they were friends. It was so adorable. And they should have focused on that more because it was hilarious. I was totally interested in his side story about him learning about how to make Korean food. You didn't even need to focus on that. Anything. Come on. Just a few more interactions would have satisfied me. Yet he was cast off to the side. Good of me. She was a doormat. However, she was not a doormat to everyone. So I'm going to give her a rating of 7 on the doormat scale. Uniquely enough, she didn't bother me at all. Most of the time the leads do something where I think, you are so dumb. Why are you even in his life? You don't deserve him. But no, I actually totally agreed with everything that they did, and I felt invested in her storyline. I felt for her when she didn't want to leave her room. I just wanted to be there like, let her just go back to her room. She even made the hermit life look rather appealing. I even tried to do it once. It didn't really work out that great, and no flower boy showed up. However, there was one part in her story that made me very mad at her, and I did briefly say, why are you even with him? And that is when she lied to Enrique. I understand that you want him to live his dreams. But long-distance relationships can work out. We have Skype. You have the telephone. You can write letters. It can work out. You don't need to lie and say that you don't love him and that you're dating Jirok, whatever his name is. Unfortunately, she's one of the many victims in Dramadom who has fallen for one of the classic blunders. It is drama rule number 25. That is, never ever make your man food. Every time you do it, something terrible will happen, leaving your food uneaten and your life in a complete mess. I always know something bad's going to happen when I see a character making her man food. I just know something terrible will happen. Death, plague, breakups, crying, car accidents, and amnesia. And when she made the food, sure enough, something bad happened. But luckily, she's dating Enrique, so it wasn't too bad. Still, be warned, if you see any of your drama characters going for the kitchen to make their boyfriend food, show them this educational video. You might save a life.
This is Susie. Susie really wants to do something nice for her boyfriend. Fortunately, Susie reads and understands the drama rules. She reads them daily. So she knows if she made some food for her boyfriend, something terrible would happen. So, instead she chooses to go to his work, get into a fight, and have an epic arm-grab hug scene.
Betty, on the other hand, does not know the drama rules. Let's see what happens when she tries to make her boyfriend food.
Truthfully, you might save a life. Enrique wasn't a jerk. At all. In fact, I'm beginning to feel a little bit embarrassed about my title in the beginning of this segment because it's becoming more and more common for the jerk-face character to not be jerks anymore. Perhaps there is hope for the loser nice guys in this world. Nah. Either way, Enrique will be receiving a -25 on the jerk-face scale. I don't think there was even a single moment when he was acting like a jerk. Even when he was pretending to be a part of the Italian mafia, he was just adorable. A great example of this is when someone was being really mean to him, and normally people will react with being mean back, but instead he would just turn on them with his aegyo charm. He was also the best therapist. Honestly, I don't know who was being the therapist for Dwaejitokki before, but he sucked because Enrique just walks into the scene, smiles, and somehow she's better. Okay, so there was more to it than that, but still, the basic premise of it is he knew exactly what to do to bring her out of her state of depression. He never took anything at face value. He knew what people were really saying, no matter what they said in words. He could see it, he felt it, he was extremely observant. Even when people hated him, he helped them. Why did he do that? Because he's freaking Enrique! And that is why he's the biggest competition for Jeremy right now. I feel so torn with who is my favorite person in this world. Is it Jeremy or is it Enrique? I don't know. Will Enrique overpass Jeremy in my emotions? Probably not. Because still, whenever I'm sad, I always go for my favorite scenes of You're Beautiful with Jeremy instead of looking for Enrique. So he'll always just be a little behind Jeremy on the scale. However, I feel like Enrique and I should be great friends. Firstly, because I speak Polar Bear too. How did you know? Like, this is such a coincidence. Secondly, he was so freaking adorable. Am I the only one who saw the bunny qualities in him? He twitched his nose like a little bunny whenever he was thinking. Plus, he was definitely the Prince Charming to Dwaejitokki's Rapunzel. There's no way that YunJiKim would have been the Prince Charming because he would have been the person hugging the tower outside of Rapunzel without her knowing about it, whereas Enrique was the one climbing up the tower to get to her. And I just want everyone to know that his name has nothing to do with my new bunny, Enrique. Such a coincidence, isn't it? How convenient that his name is Enrique and he's a bunny and I compared Enrique to a bunny. Oh, it's so weird. I have very little to say about YunJiKim or Jae-woon or whatever his name was. The very fact that he changed his name made me not trust him in the beginning. But I knew he was a weirdo when he was so super uberly respectful to Dwaejitokki, but a complete jerk to everyone else. Really? Double standards do not fly with me, so I didn't like him. On top of that, he had no interest in helping Dwaejitokki. He basically wanted her to remain the same so he could obsess over her from afar. He wanted her to remain in her room so his handprint could stay on her door forever. He may have said that he wanted to help her, but in all actuality, every time that Enrique would take her out and bring her out into the world, he would begin to panic because things were changing and she wouldn't stay the same. Any attempt, every time this happened, I just felt like he was like Gollum with the One Ring.
Oh, my precious, leave her alone. She can stay inside her house so I can look at her from afar. Gollum, Gollum.
This drama gets a 100% on the DDW scale. This thing was totally worth it! And not just for the awesome love stories or side stories.
Or the adorable bunny man.
But mainly because it kept me on my toes. Just when I thought I understood the characters and where they were and who they were, I would be thrown for a loop. For example, Jonghyun. I totally thought he was this huge player who was going out partying every night and finding a lady and getting her drunk and then taking her somewhere. But it turns out that he was actually a designated driver and was just trying to support himself because he was really poor. Ho-ho! Well, I feel bad for judging him. Totally did not see that coming. I feel rather sheepish. I formally apologize to him for judging him. And then there's Enrique. He's acted so sweet and innocent. Who knew that he actually had this really sad past and was really mature and super duper smart? And then the writers kept me guessing on the plot as well. I totally thought I had everything figured out and I could see the way things were going and it made me mad. But then it would always take me in a different direction and I would feel sheepish again for judging all of the characters. This drama had my drama senses on the fritz. The drama gods were not with me. The drama force was... It just had a lot of surprises, okay? However, because this is a Park Shin-hye drama, there is one thing I must address. Park Shin-hye kissing scenes. I have stated before many times that I would take a hugging scene or a hand-holding scene over a kissing scene any day. So I don't really care very much about kissing scenes normally. Is that duly noted? Okay. So don't freak out about me about this. It's not because I really want a good kissing scene. It's because Park Shin-hye kissing scenes, it's just like they're kissing a pole. There's like no emotion on her face at all. She doesn't respond to it at all. Originally, when I started watching her dramas, because she started so young, they were just trying not to go too far and take it too far because of her age. However, she's quite a bit older now and it hasn't changed. So I would just like to say that I would have preferred they had left out most of the kissing scenes and replaced it with something a little bit more meaningful that would have shown her emotion as that character more, and just completely stopped the kissing scenes. However, Yoon totally worked it.
Please hang up and try again.
Thank you for allowing me to make your weekend even more dramatic than it already was. If you would like to see me review one of your favorite dramas, go to Dwaejitokki.usa, click on the tab that says Mindy the Prima Donna, and off to the right there's a poll where you can vote for the next drama that I will review. See you next time.